Every 12 seconds, a ship passes through the Red Sea. Every 12 seconds, the global economy risks disruption. And today, that risk is turning into a permanent crisis. The Red Sea is not just another stretch of water. It is one of the most critical economic arteries on Earth. Nearly 12% of all global trade passes through this narrow corridor. Oil tankers, container ships, liquefied gas carriers, food shipments, industrial machinery, the bloodstream of globalization flows through this single route. At the north sits the Suez Canal. At the south lies the Bab al-Mandab Strait. Two choke points, one mistake, one escalation, and the global system begins to suffocate. For decades, the Red Sea was treated as neutral infrastructure, a background highway of commerce. That era is over. Today, the Red Sea is a front line in a new kind of war, a war without formal declarations, without borders, and without clear rules. The current crisis ignited as the Gaza war expanded beyond its original battlefield. Regional proxy forces activated. The Houthis in Yemen declared that Israeli-linked shipping would no longer be safe. But in modern shipping, there is no clear line between Israeli, American, European, or Asian vessels. Ownership, insurance, cargo, flags, and finance are all layered across borders. Once fear enters the system, every ship becomes a potential target. Missile launches began. Drone attacks followed. Naval interceptions increased. Within weeks, some of the world's largest shipping companies suspended Red Sea operations. Insurance premiums exploded. Crews refused high-risk routes, and global trade entered a silent emergency phase. When the Ever Given blocked the Suez Canal in 2021 for just 6 days, the world lost nearly $10 billion per day in trade. What is happening now is far more dangerous. This is not a temporary blockage. This is a militarized disruption of an entire artery of globalization. Ships diverting around Africa add up to 2 weeks of extra travel time. Fuel costs surge. Labor and maintenance expenses rise. Every delay compounds into higher prices for oil, food, medicine, electronics, and industrial components. Inflation is no longer driven only by central banks. It is now being driven by missiles over shipping lanes. Oil markets react not just to supply, but to fear. Even when barrels continue flowing, risk alone pushes prices upward. This hidden tax is now embedded into every shipment, a geopolitical surcharge that billions of people pay without ever seeing it on a receipt. Navies now escort civilian trade as if we have returned to the age of world wars. But this time there is no unified command, no declared enemy, and no diplomatic exit strategy. Every interception risks retaliation. Every retaliation risks horizontal escalation across the Middle East, from Yemen to Lebanon, from Gaza to the Persian Gulf. The United States Navy remains the strongest maritime force on Earth, yet power without strategic control is fragile. America can intercept missiles, but it cannot restore insurance confidence. It can defend ships, but it cannot eliminate the political incentives for disruption. This is the contradiction of modern power: unmatched firepower combined with shrinking control. China watches from a distance. The chaos benefits Beijing strategically. Western shipping costs rise. European inflation pressures increase. Belt and Road land routes become more valuable. While the West absorbs military risk, China collects economic advantage without firing a shot. Russia plays both sides of the crisis. Disruptions complicate its sanctioned oil exports, but higher global oil prices also feed its war economy. The Red Sea weakens Russia logistically while strengthening it financially. This is the age of geopolitical paradox. Iran does not need to officially enter the war to dominate its effects. Through proxy forces, Tehran applies pressure at a distance. Every missile fired from Yemen increases Iran's leverage without triggering full-scale retaliation. This is deterrence through deniability, power without fingerprints. Europe is the most exposed victim in this entire equation. The continent imports its energy, its fertilizer, its industrial components, and much of its consumer goods through these sea lanes. Europe lacks unified naval command, lacks energy independence, and lacks a coherent geopolitical doctrine. If Red Sea instability becomes permanent, Europe faces long-term inflation, industrial contraction, political extremism, and energy insecurity. But the true engine of this crisis is not missiles. It is insurance. When insurers withdraw coverage, ships stop moving. Ports deny entry. Banks refuse payment guarantees. Crews walk away. The Red Sea crisis is not just a naval crisis. It is an insurance system breakdown that quietly paralyzes global trade. This is not a shipping problem. This is structural repricing of global risk. For 40 years, the world economy operated on one assumption: that trade flows regardless of war. That assumption is now dead. Every container now carries political risk, every barrel carries military risk, every supply chain is now a potential weapon. Three futures now compete. In one, global powers manage the crisis through permanent naval militarization. Trade continues, but at higher cost and constant danger. In another, regional escalation expands into the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, the true nuclear option of global energy warfare. If Hormuz falls, oil prices could spiral beyond $150 per barrel within weeks, and the global economy would enter emergency mode. In the third future, the most silent yet most permanent one, the world simply reroutes. Africa becomes the new maritime highway. The Suez loses dominance. Global shipping restructures for decades. Globalization does not collapse. It mutates into something slower, costlier, and permanently militarized. This crisis feels different from all previous Middle Eastern wars because it does not target cities alone. It targets logistics. It targets supply chains. It targets inflation. It targets civilian life worldwide. This is siege warfare executed at the scale of the planet. The winners will be defense contractors, energy producers, alternative shipping investors, and crisis traders. The losers will be consumers, exporters, debt-heavy nations, and import-dependent food economies. Crisis always redistributes wealth before it destroys stability. High energy prices topple governments. They always have. From the Arab Spring to European populism, inflation creates revolt. The Red Sea crisis will not stay at sea. It will enter parliaments, elections, protests, and migration routes. The most dangerous illusion right now is the belief that this will pass quickly. It will not. The incentives for disruption are now permanent. Proxy warfare is cheap. Insurance reacts slowly. Energy fear creates leverage. Political instability is now a global commodity. The world does not collapse with explosions. It collapses through logistics. And right now, the world's logistical bloodstream is flowing through a war zone.